Hey everybody, I'm back. Happy Monday. Just doing another phenomenal interview. Have a whole week worth of interviews planned for you guys with authors and speakers and just incredible human beings. Obviously, I have this one right now with the amazing Chris Burns. I have another amazing one actually tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I am going to bring Chris on right now. Give me 1 second. Let's make sure I can bring him on. Not yet. Let's see. I want to bring him on. Hi, Maureen. Good to see you, my amazing friend. All right, let me bring Chris on. Here we go. Let's do this. So the roles are reversed. I was actually interviewed by Chris last week on his amazing
podcast,
which we're going to
go over.
What
Yo,
up?
brother.
Yo, brother.
Do you have a headset
you can
put on?
Yeah.
put on?
Let me grab it. One sec.
Perfect.
Perfect.
So this is
So
the
this is the technology
of Facebook.
of Facebook.
It's called Facebook feedback.
Facebook feedback.
Facebook. Oh my gosh, dude, I love it. I have these two pairs, and they're all tangled up. I swear, headphones. It's like it's the most entangled thing ever.
I know.
Well, do you need a couple seconds to get them?
Yeah, give me another minute or so. 60 seconds.
Yeah. So
I'll
I'll
re-invite you back on. I'm going to talk and do a little more of an intro.
Cool.
Perfect. So as Chris gets those together, thank you guys for joining. Again, Chris is an amazing individual. And obviously, I left a description of his podcast, his mastermind in the description of this video. And again, I'm going to want him to talk about all of those things once he gets back on here. And you're going to want to hear this story of hitting rock bottom at a very early age, and obviously conducting over 500 interviews and being on Success Profiles Radio, which I was also distinguished with the pleasure of doing that as well, with the amazing Brian K. Wright. And that is initially how Chris and I connected. And I was on one of his 12-hour marathons last week. But for anyone that's really looking to up-level themselves and their businesses and anything in their life, Chris is actually one of the most incredible people to share his message and share what he's done. So he is now ready. Let me bring him on board, and we can obviously rock this thing out. So again, I'm going to turn it immediately to him. There we go. Perfect.
Boom shakalaka.
So we, on top of, both being inspired individuals, we do have the same barber as well.
Yes.
So it's another connecting point. So Chris, I always love people that tell their own stories. I don't like to tell it for them. So if you could, my goal today was to introduce you to my network and just the vision and the path and the mission that you're actually on right now. So if you could tell us a little bit about who Chris Burns is, how you came about to be who you are, and what do you think was that turning point in your life? And I know you mentioned rock bottom. So let's start to dive into a little bit about you and your journey to where you are now at becoming the greatest possible self.
That's right, man. Every day.
Brother.
That's what we're doing. That's what we're all about. And Scott, I really appreciate you for having me on, man. It's going to be a blast to deliver massive value to your audience, get them amped up, because that's who you are. That's who I am. Let's go, baby.
Let's do it.
Today I'm doing this 12-hour marathon. Been doing it for over 2 years. Interviewed over 500 guests, leaders, role models, experts, people who are changing the world. We have our own podcast. We have our coaching group. We have masterminds, all kinds of amazing stuff. And I would not have gotten here today unless I had hit that rock bottom, like you were talking about. In high school, I felt like I didn't have a voice. I felt like, I was unimportant. I didn't matter. I didn't belong anywhere. And I found my self-expression through partying, through trying to be worthy enough, through trying to fit in with everyone around me. And so drinking and going to raves and all these things. And I hit my rock bottom when I got to this point where I felt like I was totally useless, totally valueless, totally, the world wouldn't care if I was there one way or the other, And so I was in this really dark place in my life, and I had to call my parents and tell them where I was. It was like really a dark time in my life, and it was in that moment where I recognized that even though I had screwed up so bad, I had messed up, felt like I was the biggest pile of crap in the world. My parents still loved me, and they still wanted me to succeed. So this spark, this fire was ignited within me. And so I went back to my bunk. I was in jail, and luckily charges were dropped, case was dismissed, nothing ever went on my record, but I got my wake-up call that I was throwing my freaking life away. And if I didn't change things, I would wind up in this place for the rest of my life. So it was in that moment, I saw the flash before my eyes of how is my life going to unfold? Am I going to keep winding up in this place? Am I going to keep hanging around the same people, the same toxic people, toxic relationships, toxic behaviors? Or am I going to start to clean things up? And so I made that decision to start working on myself, go do more personal development, to go to Toastmasters, start working on my message, my communication leadership, start volunteering my time, take the focus off of me being so selfish and start putting it out on other people and serving them. So fast forward, I start my own coaching company, go to a ton of personal development events, and start the marathon about 2 years ago to really get other people's voices out there, because I know what it's like to feel like I don't matter. And that's the biggest travesty, I think, in the world, is someone who has a message, who has value, who has gifts to give to the world, but they keep it inside because they don't know how to get it out. They don't know how to really clearly articulate who they are and what they're about. And so nobody finds them. Nobody gets to access their value and the transformation they can provide.
Love it. And how young are you?
So I'm 27.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
and you learned, and obviously I shared a bit of my story last week with you, and sometimes you have to learn things at a very young age that really do shape you. And again, we talk about the fact that we're all dealt hands in our lives, and you can either hold them or fold them. And obviously you had that turning point moment in your life where you're like, you know what, if I continue down this path, I don't know what is going to become of me. So what do you think, other than obviously, going to prison and having that little aha moment, what do you think prior to starting your coaching practice and the podcast and the mastermind, all that stuff, what do you think was the greatest lesson that you learned before stepping into your power to obviously start the greatest possible self brand that you're doing right now?
Yeah. So the greatest lesson I learned is to not, it's interesting, this balance of living in the moment and really celebrating life and being here and now, and also building something for the future, building a legacy. That was the one thing that I wasn't effectively doing. I was not present. I didn't have presence in the moment. I was always seeking the instant gratification, the quick high. And on the same token, I didn't care about my future. I didn't care what happened. I didn't care what the consequences were. I was willing to say, like, I'm God, nobody can stop me. Try and bring me down. I'm unstoppable. I'm Superman. And I still believe the elements of that. Like, we are super powerful. Anyone listening, watching right now, you are super freaking powerful beyond measure. And take it in a spirit of, I don't want to say humbleness, because you don't want to bring yourself down, but be respectful, be aware of how you act and how your behaviors will impact the people around you. So I think that that's the biggest thing, is to be present and not to be seeking something outside of myself. Recognize that I am enough as is. That came through meditation. It came through a ton of self-work and inner work. And then the other thing is to recognize, why am I here? Well, if I don't have a purpose, if I don't have something worth standing for and building for in this lifetime, then why am I here? I want to create something freaking epic, and I love helping other people do that, our clients, and helping people start their own podcasts and get their message out to the world in 12-hour marathon. Like, that's so fulfilling, dude. What better work is there than living my purpose, helping others to live their purpose?
It's amazing. Yeah, and it's they talk. I was in BNI, and they talk about givers gain, and the more you give, the more you're going to get. So before you went on this entrepreneurial endeavor, and obviously living in the world of expansion and growth,
Yeah.
what did you do professionally before that? Did you ever work for anyone? Did you come from a certain professional background?
Yeah, so I did 4 years of service. What is it? The food service industry. I worked at Panera Bread for 4.5 years, and I really got a lot of experience being willing to do whatever it takes. My parents, thank God, they gave me a mindset of do the work, put in the work, you'll reap the reward. Long-term thinking. And then somewhere along the track, I said, I'm going to do what I want. I don't need to listen to you guys. And that's when a lot of that pain and suffering, the rock bottom came. So I did that, and then I went to school for electrical engineering. I got my engineering degree, and I just said, this is cool, but it's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I don't want to be trapped in a 9-to-5 job. And at that same time, 6 months before, I discovered network marketing. I discovered about the world of personal development and really grown myself. And I didn't have huge success in the company, but it opened up the whole world of who I could be. At that point, I was still dealing with so many self-worth and self-confidence, self-image challenges that I didn't feel like a leader. I didn't feel like, why is anyone going to listen to me? Like, what do I have to offer? I'm this kid out of college, and like I don't really have anything I'm proud of that I can say, yes, come follow me, come join me on this movement, on this vision. I didn't believe that I was enough to enroll people and be a great leader. Now I can see, oh my gosh, I had it all along, but I just had a story that I wasn't enough, and that I was unconfident, and that I didn't have it yet.
Absolutely. And I, we talk about, network marketing was my background. I mean, I
Yeah.
had a traditional business, but network marketing is how I got into my coaching and my podcast and everything that I'm doing now. And you talk about it, and it's a personal development journey with a compensation plan attached to it.
Love
And, sometimes you make money with it, sometimes you don't, but, you cannot put a price on the lessons that you learn going through personal development. It's actually so important that, people have these delusions of grandeur of I'm going to hit it rich. I'm going to be the next millionaire in this company. And sometimes it may not be that opportunity. It may not be network marketing at all. Network marketing may be the catalyst
That's
for realizing that you have a bigger passion and a bigger purpose, which I think is what the path that we're both on, which is, I think, really why we definitely connected. So obviously you start your endeavors, and you become a full-time entrepreneur. Why a podcast? Because there's a lot of people that, I have a podcast, and, everyone does books and they do this, but why the route of a podcast to, in a saturated podcast world? Why did you choose podcast as your initial format to get your voice out there?
Yeah, so for me, I actually started with a 12-hour live stream as the initial format. And then I said, wow, podcasting is this fertile place where people are getting their message out, and it's evergreen. It's content that can always be accessible as long as, the industry and the content that you make, you have an intentionality that it's evergreen. Some people, if you do, like, let's say Facebook marketing, that's gonna evolve all the time. Instagram marketing, with yours, you get to be on top, you get to be on the leading edge of LinkedIn. And that's why people come to you, because they're like, what's new in LinkedIn? Go see Scott. That's why they tune in. And I think it's really important for me, because I started the 12-hour marathon as a way to promote a webinar. It was a promotional stunt, and me and my business partner, we look back and we say, wow, this was awesome. Tons of engagement, tons of people loving this. We did a 12-hour live stream one day, and then the very next week we said, let's do another one. So we did another 12-hour live stream. Since then, we've done 92, and like I said, interviewed over 500 guests, leaders, role models, people who are changing the world. I converted it into a podcast when I recognized that it's great to have it on one platform, Facebook Live. It's even better to be everywhere. And I think it's really important to know, where is your home base? Where are you most successful? And for me, I saw Facebook is great. And for the format of the 12-hour marathon, it had limiting return on investment for me. And I saw that the podcast is the one where I'm in control. I'm in control of the database. I'm in control of the distribution. I'm in control of the subscribers and stuff like that, the people who tune in, versus in Facebook, it's all up to the algorithm. It's all up to Facebook that they determine who shares the content. So I felt with the podcast, I was like, okay, I want to start building these things. And, some people say email lists are dead. I really started focusing on that to build up an email list because, again, I'm in control of that platform and that asset.
They're not
no,
dead.
they're not, dude. They're not. It's like such a valuable asset. And I think the podcast, why now, is because it's the perfect time to get intimate with people. You don't need tens of millions of people listening to your podcast, although that's ideal, but you need 1,000 raving fans, 1,000 people who really love what you do. And those 1,000 people, if they pay you $10 a month, let's say, that would be $10,000. If they pay you $1,000 every year, that's $1 million. I think something like that. So it's like the math is just, a lot of people make it so much bigger of a deal than it actually is. And just getting started was my biggest challenge. And that's what I love helping people with.
So the most important question I have is, when do you eat during the 12-hour marathons?
So there's 3-4 parts.
Okay.
Yes. So
because I was thinking,
yeah.
like, I have a bodybuilding background, and I'm like, I don't know if I can go, like I can go maybe 3-4 hours without eating, but like there's no, like, I need to refuel myself. So
like, is that healthy?
Yeah, I'm like, maybe he does intermittent fasting on those days, so it like works into that.
Yeah.
All right. So what? Obviously, realizing that you can get your voice and you can spread the good word of what you're doing. So what were some of the initial, but also as a result, what has been the effect on your business and your career because of what you've been able to do?
Yeah, so the podcast platform, what it allows someone to do is build goodwill with their guests. And these are typically high net worth, high influence, high leaders, people who others look up to. So for me, it's really connected me with a sense of community with these other powerhouse leaders. And I'm like, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. I'm just like them. So self-esteem, boosted my self-esteem, and being able to attract clients because of these people that I'm interviewing has been a lot easier. It's been a lot more simple because people see me, they can trust me more because I'm on the platform every single Wednesday, every 12-hour marathon. So I'm constantly in front of people. So I'd say that those were the two of the biggest things that really made a difference for me. But when people start the podcast, it's like you build the reputation, you build the authority, and that's really what I've experienced. Being 27 years old, I still have a lot of life ahead of me. So I've recognized that it's more about the long term than the short term, and I'm committed to adding value to these guests who come on, and also to the audience, and building that goodwill and that trust with our audience.
I love that. So, I like always talking, like, people see the glory of where you are right now, but I love the story of how things were in the beginning. So what's the difference between your life when you started this podcast compared to where it is and your life today? What's been the biggest difference for you?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest one is the self-image, which the result would be I attracted the woman of my dreams. A year after starting the 12-hour marathon, learning to really trust myself and learning that, hey, I really am cut out for this. I really can do this. It's like this sense of wow, it's possible. Then I started setting my sights on bigger horizons, and I've been dating, my girlfriend. She's the woman of my dreams. I literally created her. I spoke about her on the 12-hour marathon. I spoke about her on the podcast. So it's like I attracted her because of the man that I became. So I think personally, relationships are really valuable for me. That's one of those core values is the connection, is the love. And I have experienced so much more love because I've attracted this woman, because I believe that I was worth it, because I worked on myself, because I kept.
I mean, that's what it's all about. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that, what you put out there and what you think about, what you feel, all those things, that's what you truly become. And I think that's what, you can speak anything into existence. And I can say the same thing about my fiance. Like, I wanted it as close as I could, the female version of me that has that drive and that intensity that could go 12 hours of doing work. And she's, she's on the other side of this wall doing her thing, and I'm doing this. And I think that's the beauty of this. And what I love about podcasting is just what you said. So it's funny, I checked the analytics the other day of my podcast, and my podcast has been heard in about 11 different countries now.
Wow.
And,
Awesome.
And yeah, and I just started it. At the end of November. So,
Wow.
and what I realized, I'm like, you know what, like you, I love Facebook Live, and I do a lot of my trainings on Facebook Live. And I'm like, you know what, I can take these trainings
Yep.
and I can make these mini casts where I can turn it into a podcast, which I did. And, now, it's approaching 4,000 downloads, and which is only the beginning, and it's not about the numbers to me, but like I want big numbers, because that means that my message is getting across to as many people as possible. And I share with people, whether you're in network marketing, whether you are a coach, whether you are an author or a speaker, being able to be in an evergreen situation where if someone needs something of you, and obviously you can't be at arm's reach for every single person, but you can go onto iTunes or Spotify, or Breaker or any of these, Google Podcasts, and you can listen to an episode that you and personal development. Like, I don't believe in becoming a personal development junkie. I believe in really using personal development as an anchor, but also as a catalyst, like I spoke about before, for doing more things. And I get messages all the time, because my podcast is called Network Marketing Made Simple, because people try to they make everything too confusing and for themselves. And I think when you break everything down in a simplistic way and in a simplistic format where anyone can learn. Between you and me, what do you think, because everyone wants to start a podcast. I'm sure there's people on here right now. What's the most common, what's the biggest mistake that people make? And I'll give you mine after you're done. But what do you think the biggest mistake that people make is when they start their own show or own Facebook live stream or podcast?
Yeah, the biggest mistake is the launch. So many people don't know how to launch the podcast and promote it effectively, so they get those big numbers like everyone wants. Everyone wants to have everyone and their mom come into it. And if you know the algorithms, if you know how iTunes counts the most amount of value when someone subscribes, that's one of the highest value things that iTunes wants to see, so that they'll rank your podcast higher, so that they'll show it to people, they'll put it in front of people.
Free advertising.
So, Exactly. So knowing how to promote, knowing how to launch with a street team. Do you know your timelines? Do you know which platforms you're going to promote on? Are you coordinating people? Are you getting things like building up the hype? A lot of people, I think, they think they're launching the podcast and people will come, and it's not that simple. I wish it was, but when you have a strategy like the ones we're doing in our mastermind and all these ways to get the word out, to invite people to participate and share, and all the people who you've added value to, you've had conversations, you've had clients, you've had interactions on social media. How do you ask now for a favor? A lot of people aren't asking for their audience, for their team, for their inner circle, their community to help out. And it's so simple. Just freaking send a message, say, hey, I'm watching my podcast. Can you rate, review, and subscribe? And I sent out like 100+ messages in the very first time when I launched. And of course, I've learned a lot since then, new strategies. So it's really like just making sure that people know that you're about to do this launch, build up the excitement, build up the hype for it, and make sure that there's a buzz, because that's what will get people tuning in. It's what will raise your authority and your credibility, so that people want to keep tuning in for the life of your podcast as well.
Yeah, you have to ask to get. You have to ASK to GET, and that's it's a big thing. You can't be afraid to ask. Like I love asking people, because if you don't ask, then it's never going to happen. So what's the harm in sending 50 messages to 50 people even if they've never listened to it before? Hey, can you go to my podcast? It would really mean a lot to me if you subscribe to it and give it a 5-star rating, because it would really help me out. Like, if any of my friends asked me to do that, I would do it for them. So in regards to your answer, my answer for this, like why people end up failing, or what mistakes they make, is that they quit too soon.
Yes.
So So I see people, they go into these launches and you know what, if you don't form structure around so from day one, I formed structure around my podcast. I said, I'm going to do 2 mini casts a week, 7 to 10 minutes long on Mondays and Thursdays. So I would record, and I still do 2 or 3 episodes ahead at a time. And I made a goal of myself to have 50 episodes done, and I just released episode 42.
Congrats.
And when I get to episode 50, episodes 51 through 100 are all going to be one interview and then one mini cast. So I'm going to go back and forth because now it's time to start edifying others. And I see people that because I always look to connect with other podcasters, and I see that their last episode wasn't uploaded since last October, and you fall. And what happens is they have an expectation or what they feel they should get or happen from it, and they only have 3 or 4 listeners. Listen. If you don't promote it, whenever I release a new episode, I post about it on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram story, and I send an email out to my network. So,
that's right.
And that's grown. So, I grew my listener base from an average of like 5 or 6 listens per episode to almost 80 per episode now.
Wow.
And it's growing every single week. And it's because you have to take consistent daily action. You can't expect to get to point A to Z if you're not hitting those other letters of the alphabet in between. It's that simple.
It's the long game, man. It's totally the long game. People want the instant gratification. It's like that's one of our application to come on in the mastermind that we're launching at the end of the month. One of the questions is, do you promise you will be doing your podcast 1 year from now? If not, this mastermind is not for you.
Yeah.
like don't join.
well, that brings that actually, it was a great segue. I was going to go in. So obviously I love masterminds. I'm a part of one right now for my coaching practice and my brand. And you've recently started a podcast mastermind because I think that's just genius. So why did you start a podcast mastermind? So, and what is, obviously I know the power of a mastermind. So I want you to speak on that for a second. First of all, what's a mastermind and what people could expect out of something like what you're doing for the podcast mastermind?
Yeah. So a mastermind is basically when 2 or more minds or people gather together to a common cause: success, podcasting, marketing, sales, family, whatever is your priority, spirituality. It doesn't matter what the goal is, but there's a common intention, there's harmony, and everyone wants to get to the same place, growth. And so we started this podcast mastermind because I saw so many people coming on the 12-hour marathon wanting to get their message out, and they came on, they had a great experience, and I said, okay, what's next? And they said, well, I'm just going to keep working. And I said, well, what are you going to do to get your message out there? What are you going to do to build your platform? And I saw person after person after person start their own podcast over the last 2 years. And I said, okay, people are doing this anyway, so I might as well be the facilitator to help you get to where you want to go. As the mastermind leader, I'm just there to facilitate the genius and the brilliance coming out of these 8 people's minds to be able to successfully launch their podcast. I've done it before. I'm here to share the wisdom and information. I'm not better than anyone else. I'm just a little bit different. I'm a little bit further ahead on the journey than the other members who are going to be in this mastermind. So there's 8 spots because I want to keep it real nice and intimate and make sure that 8 people launch their podcast within 90 days. Some people, it takes them 6 months or a year or 2 years to write a book. That's like 90 days. 3 months, you're launching this freaking thing because it doesn't need to be perfect. You can always evolve it. You can always change it and make it different later. Like we changed the name of our show 12 months into launching the 12-hour marathon. It was I Am Having Fun, and now it's becoming your greatest possible self because it was more congruent with us. Nobody cares. They're like, okay, Chris changed the name. Cool.
Yeah.
But it's like really nobody cares as much about your brand as you do. So the whole purpose of this mastermind is to really give you a strategy. How do you launch your podcast? What's the technology that you need? What's the format, the structure of your show? How often do you want to post? How do you do the launch? And then how do you grow the show after you've launched it? That's really the big focus for the 12 weeks that we're doing it. Every week we're going to come together for about an hour on Thursdays, I believe the day is. share those strategies. I'm going to teach a component, ask questions. If you have any challenges, big wins, celebrations, we can cover those. And the real focus of the mastermind is to come together to help you achieve that goal of launching your podcast in 90 days. And it's pretty simple to join it. There's an application just to make sure you're serious and you're committed. And I can share about that now if you want to, Scott.
Yeah, please. So, you know,
Cool.
I believe in masterminds, and my network knows that I'm in one. So how can people join, and where can they find information about? I know I put the hyperlink in here,
Cool.
and you can drop that in the comment section. So,
Yep.
how do people find out more and how they join?
Yeah, so if you want to find out more, first off, just fill out the application. I'm going to put it in the links right now. Podcast Mastermind. Boom shakalaka, and then I can give you all the details on it. But if you're serious about this, if you want to know more about launching your own podcast, just like submit the application and I can tell you more about the program and how it's all going to unfold, and the timeline and the specifics of the times and how it's going to work on Zoom and all that good stuff. So just fill out the application. If it sounds like you're being called to be your greatest possible self, to express yourself in a bigger way, to build your platform, to become the authority in your industry, in your field, in your niche, this is one of the most powerful ways to do it and stand out from everyone else. Stop being, put into the noise of social media and really create something that's different, that's unique, that's yours.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, if you're interested in starting your podcast for whatever you want to start it for, because everyone has a voice, and the last thing that you want to do is to tiptoe through life and arrive at your grave safely, not sharing your voice and your gift. So go to www.beyourgps.com/podcast mastermind.
Yep.
So you can fill out that free application so you can learn how to join. So a couple rapid fire questions before we wrap up, Chris. I know you got to prepare for the 12-hour marathon this Wednesday, and you're doing some vetting of people in there. So number one, what is your greatest personal accomplishment to date? Not professional, personal, human being wise.
Yeah, it's definitely coming back from the brink of feeling like I'm nothing. I'm meaningless. I'm purposeless. I'm valueless. I don't deserve love. I don't believe in God. Screw my parents. I'm going to go do what I want. To be that person and then to become the person I am today is like, how the F? Like, how does that happen? It's like a quantum leap. It's like I'm literally not the same person. Every day you wake up, you're not the same person that you were yesterday. But I'm like, I see that, 17, 18-year-old kid who was like miserable in life and was hiding and running away. And I'm like, man, I just have so much compassion and empathy for him, and just like send him love, because that's what he needed. He needed love. He needed to be seen, to be heard, to be loved. And I just send that. And so for me, it's just like really being someone who I'm proud of today.
I love that. Second question, what is your greatest professional accomplishment to date? So first was personal. What is your greatest professional accomplishment to date?
Dude, it's got to be this platform that I've built. The 12-hour marathon is it's freaking legendary, dude. It's like legendary. Every week, 91 of these things that we've done. Interviewed over 500 people in the last 2 years. Like, that is something I can put my hat on again and again and again and again. So for me, I felt like I didn't have anything worth talking about before this podcast and this 12-hour marathon. And now I'm like, man, I've helped so many people get their message out. We've done, pre-interview calls, debriefing calls, supported people in being more effective in their interviews and their messaging. And it's like, I know I'm doing such amazing work in the world, and this is just the beginning.
Yeah, and if you never ever talk to Chris or reach out to him, follow him or send him a friend request, just for the sheer ability to watch his 12-hour marathons, because like literally it's gold, like all the time. And I was blessed to be a part of one last week. It was 10 o'clock Eastern, and I had a full day of coaching, and
you brought it. You brought it, dude.
I did my best to bring the fire at 10 o'clock. So it was a long day, but that is how I ended my day. And I honestly, I couldn't have picked a better way to do that. So last three questions. What is the greatest obstacle personally that you had to overcome? Not professionally, personally, that you had to overcome?
Trying to do it on my own. Like my whole energy was I'm a lone wolf, which stemmed from I'm not worthy enough. And so I really just had this, I felt like I kept slamming my head into a wall, trying to figure out life, figure out business, figure out how do I really serve people in a big way and have them want to reward me and see the value in my services. And it was at that core root of I am valuable, I am worthy enough, and I get to claim and own my greatness and my value. And then people will respond to that. And that was like the biggest freaking breakthrough that I had to go through, man.
Love that. And same along the same lines, what has been your greatest professional obstacle that you've had to overcome?
It's along the same lines, but it's really viewing myself as a significant member, contributing member of the online space. Like before the 12-hour marathon, I felt like I was this little pipsqueak who didn't have anything to add and no value to add to the world. It's like, why is Lewis Howes going to want to talk to me? Why is Scott Aaron going to want to talk to me? Like, shoot, like I got nothing. I'm doing these Facebook Lives. And then after, I'm like, man, I'm really proud of myself. And it was partially competence from showing up and doing the work and getting the reps in, and also it was the mindset of confidence and competence and like, okay, I am worthy enough. It's because I say so. It's because I create it with language.
I love that. I love that. Final question, and my favorite question to ask because there is no wrong answer. Okay. What does success mean to you?
Success means this moment. Being here and now. I am successful. My being is success. So what does it mean? It means being success. It means being here and now. It means embodying it and knowing that everything is working out perfectly for me. And everything that I want and desire, it's coming to me and I'm receiving it. And if I don't get what I want specifically, then something even better is coming. And it's having that faith, and it's being here and now, enjoying the dance and the beauty of life while that progressive realization of a worthy ideal, as I believe it was Earl Nightingale says, it's like, be here and be growing. That's it for me, man.
What you focus on is what you become. That's what it's all about.
Yes,
absolutely. And again, for those that are on here, beyourgps.com/podcast mastermind if you would like to fill out an application to join Limited Space. For those that don't, you can try to figure this stuff out on your own. Some people have the ability to do that. But, Chris is one of those people that figured it out, paved the way. And it's so beneficial for you to make that investment, not in him, but in the mastermind, so you can learn the best way, the best possible way, not only just to become your best possible self, but to have the best podcast out there for people to really engage with. So, Chris, grateful for you, brother. I appreciate you taking the time, jumping on here, sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, and the ability that people have to now work with you in a much more intimate, close space. I think that's a huge benefit to the personal development and the online community. And thank you for blazing some trails.
Thank you, Scott. I love you, brother. Keep shining.
Love you too, brother. My man. I'll talk to you soon, Chris.
See you soon.
Thank you. So, again, you can see that success truly does mean something different, for everyone. And again, becoming your greatest possible self. It's out there, and it's in all of us if you reach down deep enough to let it out. So again, if you're on here and you're wanting to really start a podcast and have a meaningful impact on those around you, www.beyourgps.com/podcast mastermind. Fill out the application to join Limited Space, only 8 spots, and it would be more than well worth your investment to be close to Chris and his team and what they do. So guys, enjoy the rest of your day. Chris, thank you, my brother. Love and gratitude to you. You're the man, and I will talk to everybody soon. Bye-bye, everybody.